Coming up on It's Personal, brought to you by Gunderson Health System, holiday cards will benefit kids in our area through the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Find out how you can get involved. Also, a little bit later, Environmental Services wins a big award. You're going to learn about what Environmental Services does behind the scenes at Gunderson Health System. And deer hunting is underway. Is your body ready? And are you capable of dragging that deer out of the woods? Find out about hunters' safety for your body. All next on It's Personal, brought to you by Gunderson Health System.
Let's face it, when you've been in labor for 24 hours, you're not exactly pleasant. And it takes a really special person to guide you through. For me, that person was Missy.
Fabulous. You're doing great. You're doing great.
She was with me in the hospital at Gunderson her entire shift, and somehow she managed to keep me laughing. She never got irritated with all my questions and treated me like I was the only person who mattered. It's weird, but I felt like I'd known her for years, even though we'd just met.
Here we go. And...
Missy is an amazing nurse. And because of her, I am a very happy first-time mother. And she's why I'm taking classes in the local college nursing program.
Gunderson Health System uses the power of love plus medicine, making each patient experience as amazing as possible. Learn more about Gunderson Hospitals, clinics, and specialty services at gundersonhealth.org.
Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gunderson Health System. I'm Christopher. 30 years, that's how long Children's Miracle Network Hospitals have been doing holiday cards. Joining us to talk about it is CMN-Hospitals specialist Rena Cash. Thanks for joining us, Rena.
Thanks, Chris.
So holiday cards, it's, a lot of people don't want to talk about the holidays until after Thanksgiving, but here we are talking about it a little bit in advance. Holiday cards are really, something that has been a very popular thing. People get them year in and year out. It's kind of the easy answer, and it helps out Children's Miracle Network Hospitals.
Yes, it does.
Talk a little bit about what holiday cards are.
So the Holiday Card Program is a partnership that we have with Empire Screen Printing. They've generously donated every year the printing, all of that
for
these
years.
cards for 30 years. So you can imagine how much cost is involved with this. So you're talking probably hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cost for a normal print job of this magnitude. So they do this for us for the last 30 years, and they enjoy it. One thing we're trying different this year on the 30th year is instead of hosting a holiday card contest where a child from the community or one of our hospitalized children can submit drawings and things like that, and they go through a whole process and they win a prize, we actually did something a little different, and we used our 2016-2017 heroes for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals.
Gotcha.
So it's all featuring 5 different pieces of art that they have created specifically for the holidays. And they're all really excited to have done it. It's just another way to kind of feature. These are all children that have been helped by Children's
So are
Miracle
these
Network.
all on one card, or are they 5 different
5
cards?
different cards.
Wow.
So in one package that you can get, it's 20 cards in a pack. It comes with envelopes and seals, and they're $8 for each, which includes the sales tax into it. And they're sold at a few locations here in La Crosse and on Alaska, and you can also purchase them online.
Now, talk about the designs this year, because I'm sure there's people that are going to go out there and they're going to try and take a peek at them, but the kids come up with these, and they are creative.
Yes, they are. One of our heroes, Willa Crace, did a really cute owl on a wintry tree branch and with a little hat on. Our other hero, Iris Abbott, did a really beautiful holiday scene with a tree, just a winter scene. We also have there's a snowman done by Addison, and
it wouldn't be the holidays without a snowman.
Well, you can't have holidays without a snowman.
Gotta have a white Christmas too.
So those are just a couple of the ones that are featured. So you'd have to buy a pack to get to see the rest of them.
And the cool thing about this is it's the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals heroes. So these kids have really been selected to represent
Yep.
CMN-Hospitals through Gunderson Health System.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about those kids and the difference that CMN-Hospitals has made in their lives?
So one thing that's really special, and one of the reasons why we decided to go with this angle, is these kids are CMN-Hospitals kids. They have been helped by CMN-Hospitals in a lot of different ways. Some of them we've sent to diabetic camp, others we've bought equipment for, we've done iPads, transportation, meal vouchers when they've been here in the hospital. So these are kids and families who are near and dear to our heart and who go out in the community and act as ambassadors for not only our CMN-Hospitals, but also for Gunderson Health System because they have experienced the great care that we offer here.
One of the interesting things that, having seen how CMN-Hospitals has helped some of these kids, is I've seen some of the requests that come in. And it's not always what you think. It's sometimes very simple things like upgrade for a wheelchair.
Yes.
Like you said, a meal voucher. It can be just simply making access easier into a home, and that's what these funds created through things like holiday cards.
Yes.
That's where that money goes.
Yes, and I think that's why our hero families were so on board with doing this program and really excited to make these cards, is because they know that 100% of the funds that are raised through purchasing these holiday cards goes back to benefit more kids like them and to have a larger impact in our community to help kids just like they were.
We're talking with Rena Cash. She's a Children's Miracle Network Hospital specialist at Gunderson Health System and works through the foundation. Want to ask you, you mentioned where the cards are available, and I want you to run down that again, but do you have goals? Do you have a goal as to what you'd like to see? Would we like to up the ante when it comes to selling holiday cards this year?
Well, we always like to increase sales every year, so if we can get it about $4,000 or $5,000, I would love to see that for holiday cards.
That doesn't seem like it's asking for a lot, because there's a lot of people that are out there, doing holiday cards and thinking, what am I going to do this year? And then they do the long search, and here it's all done for you. And where do you go again, Rena, to pick these up?
You can purchase them at Deacon Bergland at our gift shop here at the La Crosse Clinic. You can also buy them at the Onalaska Health Shop. And you can find them at the Gunderson Credit Union and again online.
And if somebody has a question about where they can get them or further information, how they can help out the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals, how can they?
Feel free to call our office, 608-775-4424.
Rena Cash, Children's Miracle Network Hospital Specialist, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Again, pick up those holiday cards. You still have time. And of course, the holiday cards, a lot of people, day after Thanksgiving, are coming out, for goodness sake. So get out there and get them right away. When we come back, Environmental Services wins a big award. You're going to learn about what Environmental Services does behind the scenes at Gunderson Health System. That's next on It's Personal, brought to you by Gunderson Health System.
My husband, Wally, spent a week recovering at Gunderson Health System. He's really patriotic, so he was a little bummed out that he'd be stuck there for the 4th of July. So after dinner, we rolled up to floor 6 for our usual walk. But something was different. There were people gathered up there, all smiling at us. Because at the end of the hall, right by a giant window, we saw a love seat, a flag, and a sign that read, "Per Dr. Botner, reserved for Wally." We could see the fireworks perfectly framed through the window. It was almost as good as seeing them down by the river, but with an extra bonus. No mosquitoes.
At Gunderson Health System, our staff of specialists, doctors, and nurses try to make the best out of every stay. It's a philosophy of care we like to call Love Plus Medicine. Learn more about Gunderson Hospitals, clinics, and specialty services at gundersonhealth.org.
Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gunderson Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. Superb. That's the word being used to describe the work performed by Gunderson Health System's Environmental Services Department, the 200-member team that provides housekeeping, recycling, floor care, waste and hazardous material disposal, and much more, has been named the 2016 Environmental Services Department of the Year, and that's by the Association for the Healthcare Environment and Global Hygiene Corporation, SCA. Brian Stuempges, Manager of Environmental Services, joins us now to talk a little bit more about this. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chris.
This is a big deal.
Very big deal.
Yeah, why so? This just doesn't happen to...
It's recognizing our staff for what we do, providing a clean, safe environment for our patients. Our motto is every patient is my patient. Never put your wants or needs ahead of the patient. We've this past year, we had a lot of things that we have worked on improving. A lot of good numbers we had with our reducing our safety numbers, also reducing our ATP numbers.
What's ATP?
That's adenosine triphosphate, and it's a Q-tip swab, and it detects, it can tell you within seconds on how many living cells are on a surface. So when we first started our ATP numbers, approximately 8 years ago, our numbers were in the thousands. We worked very closely with infection control on a goal of averaging 300. When we reached that goal, we made a stretch goal of averaging 150, which we have also attained. In fact, in some of our surgical units, we have double figures, which is absolutely excellent.
Wow. This is a big deal because this means a lot for patients because, you know, infection rates and certainly getting people home sooner out of the hospital. And it's not just, hey, it looks nice around here.
Right, that's true. Another thing that we did add last year, we have added UV lights, which is added disinfection for rooms. On a discharge, we clean the rooms. We strategically place these UV lights in a room. It takes maybe 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. So this would kill any things that we don't touch. We're just adding an extra layer of protection for the patient.
Now these new units, they're relatively new within the last couple of years, are really some high-tech gadgetry. Can you explain how they work? Because most people I don't think understand that you just put this thing in the middle of the room and it really does a number on the room.
Well, they're kind of high. They're like big tubes, just like a fluorescent light bulb. And we have 4 sides to the unit. When we turn that on, it pretty much disinfects one side of the room. They're 8 minutes, and then once that shuts off, then we go in and we move it to the other side of the room and do disinfection. We also make sure the bathroom is covered. Any type of drawers or anything in the rooms need to be pulled out. When we first looked at these units, we had the vendor came in, and there's little cards that they could place strategically in the room to tell if they're being effective. So this has been a real big thing. We presently have 4 units. I'm hoping to get 2 more so that we have one on each floor, so we don't have to go from floor to floor and move the unit.
It's not a team of people coming in and wiping down the room anymore. They're still coming in to do,
Yes,
to take care of them, but this is really a whole different level of disinfection.
Correct, it is, yeah. We do our discharge cleaning as we always have done. Again, checking the ATP and all the high-touch surfaces that the patient would touch. The bedside rail, the doorknob, the toilet flusher. Those are the very critical areas that we want to make sure are disinfected for our patients. And the UV light will capture things that we do miss.
Yeah, interesting. We're talking with Brian Stuempges. He's the Manager of Environmental Services about the Gunderson Environmental Services Department being named Department of the Year. One of the things that I know that you've talked about is that you've said that you think that the biggest part of working hard every day is to think how it makes the patient feel or the visitor feel within the organization. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, they see us doing our job. We kind of let staff know that the numbers are good on the units. Just like every patient is my patient. Never put your wants or needs ahead of the patient. The patients don't always see that side of it, but they can see when the housekeeper comes in the job that they're doing. Nursing knows. Another critical thing that we did last year is we've had room standardization where we're very clear on what the nurse does and the housekeeper does, because what we were finding in the past was that a housekeeper coming to clean the room, only there's medical equipment in there. Well, they'd move the equipment out, and then the nurse couldn't find it. So we work very diligently with each unit. We have laminated checklists. Nursing knows what they're supposed to take out and take care of. We do. That way, nursing can find things very readily. We also initiated this on a couple floors, and when we were trialing it, we found that in a matter of a short time, the things that were misplaced or put where they couldn't be found reduced dramatically. The other thing was it was taking up to half an hour sometimes for the EA, the housekeeper, to clear the room out. So now they can come in, they can clear that, they can just start cleaning. Because when you're looking at a discharge room, you're talking about 45 minutes to thoroughly clean that room. So this eliminates the patient waiting at the door that has happened in the past. We don't want patients to have to wait to get in their room. The flow from the emergency ward, because they have patients coming in all the time. That's kind of where a lot of this started, working with Steph Hill down there, and really looking at what the patient goes through when they come in, from when they first enter the emergency ward to get to the room. So this really speeds this up. And then, because we've got that extra time, that's when we've added the UV light.
Interesting. Yeah, I would say too, from a personal standpoint, I think people take it for granted that the rooms are clean, the hospital, the clinics, that everything is clean. But when it's not clean, then they're going to notice, but they don't notice because things have been taken care of. And I think that's just a credit to your staff, 200-member staff. But
Yes.
Can you, give a shout out maybe to your staff members?
Well, I mean, they were just pretty much floored when we got this award. I had been asked different years to put an award, but some of our numbers weren't as good. We're still working on things, fine-tuning stuff. Last year was a very good year. It was a good year to tell our story, and so we did get an award. We had to travel, a couple of my supervisors and I traveled to Pittsburgh to get this award, and there was about 700 people in this room, and I was approached by several people from all over the country on what we're doing here, and I've also had calls since I've got back to work. So it was a lot of good networking. We were on the cover of the magazine, which was great. So what we did is I had a magazine purchased for every one of our staff.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And now we are having some shirts printed up that we're going to have a celebration here within the month, and have a cake and some shirts and some buttons that says their environmental services.
And I'm sure the staff will really appreciate that too. Yeah.
Yep.
The hard work is paying off.
They were very, very happy. And then we also had our CEO, Dr. Rathgaber, came at one of our meetings and was congratulating them, so they were extremely happy.
Good stuff. It certainly takes many levels of people to make an organization run and be successful. And Brian, we thank you for your efforts and for your time today.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
All right, Brian Stuempges, he is the Manager of Environmental Services, again, Department of the Year. When we come back, deer hunting is underway. Is your body ready? And are you capable of dragging that deer out of the woods? Find out about hunter's safety for your body. All next on It's Personal, brought to you by Gunderson Health System.
Unless you're from Ethiopia, you won't fully understand this. But you might gather that 9-year-old Abo is excited. Thanks to our eye doctors volunteering with Gunderson Global Partners, he can now see his friends at the new school and a future worth living. It's just one of the ways Gunderson Health System is combining love plus medicine. Learn how you can help at gundersonhealth.org/globalpartners.
As someone with cystic fibrosis, I spend a lot of time at Gunderson Health System. The doctors and nurses have become kind of like family. After a recent stay, I was hoping to go home when my nurse, Angie, told me I'd need to stay another day. Well, I wasn't very happy, and I might have let her know it as she left my room. A few minutes later, in walks someone dressed as a superhero. Mask, cape, boots, the whole deal. I didn't know who it was at first, but when she put her hands on her hips and said, "I heard someone isn't having a very good day," I knew exactly who it was. I've never laughed so hard in my life. Once again, my superhero nurse had saved the day.
Gunderson Health System employs the very best staff in the region, but it's their creative caring that makes them some of the best in the world. We call it Love Plus Medicine. Learn more about Gunderson Hospitals, clinics, and specialty services at gundersonhealth.org.
Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gunderson Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. Well, deer hunting season is upon us. It started on Saturday, and there's a lot of hunters that are out there in the woods who might not think about preparing for being out in the woods other than their gun or their clothing or their equipment, if you will. But you really kind of have to prepare the body. Here to talk a little bit about that is Dr. Kim Lansing from Gunderson Health System's Family Medicine Department. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Glad to be here.
You really do need to prepare the body, and you really do need to think about how you are going to, for example, hike up that hill.
Right. You know, people don't always remember that hunting is indeed a sport. And when you're participating in a sport, you need to prepare adequately for it. And, you know, a lot of people forget that these tree stands or places they're hunting tend to be way back in the woods, up steep terrain. You've got to not only get in there, but if you're lucky enough to harvest a deer, you've got to get it out of there too, and that's a lot of effort.
Yeah, I know there's people of all ages who hunt. Good advice just to say, hey, if you are out there, you're with a buddy.
You know, I think it is a really good idea to have somebody with you, or at least tell people where you're going, have a cell phone available, something if you need help. You know, it's nice to have somebody else if you do harvest a deer to help you get that deer out of the woods, because that will decrease your effort. You know, we hear every year about these guys that go in by themselves and try to pull a deer out and have that heart attack in the woods alone. And that's a scary possibility.
Yeah, and it can just be simply walking up that steep hill that, you know, maybe they took the truck up last year, but this year it's muddy, it's windy, you know, who knows what, or
right.
Wet, and they don't, and they decide to hike it. How do you tell if you're doing it too much, if you're overdoing it with your body, with your heart?
Well, you know, typically people will have had signs before that time that they go hunting, and they need to be attentive if they've been having excessive shortness of breath or chest pains with activity. That says maybe you need to rethink about whether you should go hunting this year. You should probably go see your healthcare provider and bring those symptoms up. But you know, if they're actually out there and they start really feeling short of breath, maybe that's time to rest. Or if you're starting to have chest pain, you should stop what you're doing, see if it subsides, and then get somebody to either go with you, get out of there, and then have somebody else come back for that deer.
Because Dr. Lansing, even the excitement of seeing a deer,
right,
can cause some angina.
That's true.
All right.
That is true.
I want to talk a little bit, if we can, about deer stand safety. Everybody talks about this all the time, but this is one of the big ways that, well, let's face it, the emergency room at Gunderson Health System sees patients every year.
Right.
People fall out of deer stands.
Right. You know, there are a number of things with deer stands that we need to be careful about. First of all, know your conditions before you get into the deer stand. If it's icy, if it's rainy, a lot of times those ladders can be slippery, and you need to be careful about falls. The grates on the top can be slippery. You know, fortunately also, a lot of our younger hunters that are doing hunter safety courses are learning to use harnesses, which a lot of our hunters that have been around for a long time, oh no, I don't need a harness, I've been doing this for 30 years, I'm fine. But a lot of the younger people, fortunately, are learning to use the harnesses and the safety bars, the shooting bars in the tree stand. So that's a great thing that we're starting to get some safety in with this.
It seems like it makes a lot of sense. The other thing that that you were talking about before we started recording this was the fact that sometimes you just need to know your environment.
Correct. You know, I think you need to make sure that your tree stand is in a safe place. For example, if you get some high winds and the winds come up, you know, are you going to have branches above you that may be coming down and could possibly injure you? And then also, you know, knowing where your tree stand is facing, because, for example, with some of our ammunition, it can travel quite a ways. Even those 22 CB shorts go a mile and a quarter. And if you're shooting at a deer and there's a house off in the background, you could possibly injure somebody else. So you need to be careful where you've got your tree stand and who you could be endangering around you. Some of our high velocity ammo goes more than 3 miles, and that's pretty scary.
Yeah, it certainly does travel a long way, and you want to make sure you know where it's going. We're talking with Dr. Kim Lansing, Family Medicine, Gunderson Health System, about deer hunting safety. I want to give you the opportunity to talk about alcohol and hunting. It used to be, at least in my impression, that the two kind of went hand in hand. And more it's drifting away, but the dangers of alcohol and hunting. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the most important points is alcohol and ammunition and a gun don't mix. You know, that's when people are not making great decisions. Your timing may be off. It's for that reason that they, have driving under the influence when people are driving cars, because they know that alcohol will affect your ability to react and make decisions properly. And so definitely alcohol and shooting sports do not mix. And I am happy to say that yes, people are definitely getting better at that concept. We would prefer that they drink bottled water when they're out there, because obviously we were talking just a few minutes ago about safety when you're getting in and out of the woods, and being hydrated helps keep your heart happy. So
good points.
Water, not alcohol.
Again, we're talking with Dr. Kim Lansing, Gunderson Health System, Family Medicine. Any other advice for those men and women and young people who are heading out into the woods again today?
Well, the big thing is the obvious big four that they teach you in the hunter safety class. Never point your gun at anything you aren't going to shoot at. If you aren't actively shooting, your gun should be unloaded. That's a huge thing. We see injuries when people are hauling guns up into tree stands and the gun goes off and people shoot themselves. So if you are not actively shooting, your gun should be unloaded. And if you are not participating in shooting, your gun should be locked away. We're trying to reduce the number of fatalities we see in children that are getting shot with guns they're finding in the homes. So keep that gun tucked away. Always keep your finger outside the trigger guard until you're ready to shoot. And in addition, make sure you know what you're shooting at and what is beyond it. Those are the major ones. The things we don't tend to think about as much are things like we mentioned earlier, the environment, making sure that conditions are right, that you can see where you're shooting, that there's not a thick fog, that it's safe to get up in your tree stand, and that you're not going to endanger yourself. A lot of people don't think about dressing for being out there, and hypothermia. We see people getting frostbite every year. So make sure you dress in layers. Make sure you've got your blaze orange or now blaze pink on this year. And finally, the deer ticks are crazy this year. So they are still out there. Make sure that you check for deer ticks after you get back.
The warm weather has not allowed for those deer ticks to go hiding anywhere.
No, they are just at crazy levels this year.
Yeah,
We're seeing a lot of tick bites this year.
I think you said that you've diagnosed more deer tick, more Lyme disease this year than the previous couple of years.
Yes, that's correct. I am fairly certain I've diagnosed more this year than in the past couple of years combined.
Well, we're out of time. We appreciate it. And again, deer hunter safety, take it seriously. And Dr. Lansing, thanks for being here.
No problem. My pleasure.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of It's Personal, brought to you by Gunderson Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. Thanks for joining us.
Let's face it, when you've been in labor for 24 hours, you're not exactly pleasant. And it takes a really special person to guide you through. For me, that person was Missy.
Fabulous. You're doing great. You're doing great.
She was with me in the hospital at Gunderson her entire shift, and somehow she managed to keep me laughing. She never got irritated with all my questions and treated me like I was the only person who mattered. It's weird, but I felt like I'd known her for years, even though we'd just met.
Here we go. And...
Missy is an amazing nurse. And because of her, I am a very happy first-time mother. And she's why I'm taking classes in the local college nursing program.
Gunderson Health System uses the power of love plus medicine, making each patient experience as amazing as possible. Learn more about Gunderson Hospitals, clinics, and specialty services at gundersonhealth.org.